Hello my friends and welcome back to the channel. In this video we do another photo critique, only instead of me being the critiquer this time, I get critiqued. Recently I went to the Maasai Mara in Kenya with Wild Eye. About midway through my safari, I asked my guide and professional wildlife photographer Michael if he would take a look at some of the shots I had taken already, unedited, and give me his thoughts. Of course, I'm terribly excited to be getting his feedback. He's a really amazing photographer, but also the things he says and points out is really helpful for anyone. But before we get into it, if you are new here, I'm Adrian, I'm a wildlife photographer, and if you feel like you need more wildlife photography content in your life, then just go ham on those like and subscribe buttons because I got you. And with that, we will head right into it. Okay, hey guys, I'm at the Maasai Mara camp with Wild Eye, and this is Michael, my guide. Go ahead.
Over to me. Hello everybody, and thank you for joining this episode, and thank you for the introduction, Adrian. And as she had mentioned, my name is Michael Laubscher, and I'm one of the senior guides at Wild Eye, and I've been with the company now for going on 6 years. And my main role is to help my guests that join me on safari improve their wildlife photography, but also in turn improve their post-processing techniques in Lightroom or Photoshop, and just to make what hopefully is already a good image from the field, and give it a bit of a facelift and make it look slightly better. So I think in this episode today we're going to be running through some of Adrian's images that she managed to capture in the Maasai Mara, and I really look forward to this. So let's dive into Lightroom and see what you managed to capture over the past few days.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Alright, so now in Lightroom, scrolling through a number of images you have here. I think in total, if we go all the way down to the bottom, we have 24 that we're working with. And it's quite important before we go through this process for your viewers to know if they are currently photographing or if they would like to start photographing, is ask yourself the question, what are you going to photograph for? Because it's quite important to know that images that will work really well on Instagram might not be an image that will work very well for a print.
Yeah.
Because not many people want to put a gory scene with an animal with a face full of blood and a bone sticking out its mouth on their wall at home.
Yeah.
Because that'll become a bit depressing over time. But then, say your wide angle shots where you have, like one of your images, number 8 over here. It's not necessarily a wide angle, but it is an animal that's hiding away, and a great image that you have now placed the animal in its environment, but you can see the back, the horn, and the head and the ears of this rhino in image number 8 in that scene. Now that won't do too good on Instagram because people want to see exactly, wow, that's a beautiful rhino. And in saying that, it doesn't mean you don't have to use it on Instagram because it's good for diversity. But an image like that would work much better as a print on a wall than it would for an image on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, because it'll be more impactful as a big print than it would be on a small iPhone screen.
Yeah.
Okay. But running through here, you've got good diversity, and there's a great variation of wildlife, of focal lengths, angles, stories. It really is a good collection over here. And there are a few images that you took from the same scene in this collection. And we will work through some of those, and I'll tell you what I believe would be the best one for you to use. The reason being is just because there's various different stories in each individual photograph. But I'll explain that as we start delving into individual images.
Yeah.
What I really do like here as well is Instagram-wise, this image number 16 being a Coke's hartebeest. Well, the bum of a Coke's hartebeest. Looking back at the rest of its herd, which is staring directly back at him. And images like this, because it's you get so used to, if you scroll through someone's wildlife photography website or Instagram page, at times it can become quite monotonous.
Yeah.
You know, you get bored. You know, okay, I'm going to see a lion next, I'm going to see a leopard next, I'm going to see a lion next, I'm going to see a leopard next.
Yeah.
Now that you've got a totally different species and something that's not posted too frequently, but also you've got its bum and its head sharp, staring back at the individuals that are blurred out in the distance, will really capture someone's attention and hold their eye a lot longer. So scenes like this would work well on either Instagram and or a print. So that's a really cool image. Scrolling down, the serval sighting was absolutely incredible. By far, no doubt, my best serval sighting to date.
Mine too.
And then looking at your sequence from 22, 23, and 24 was a hyena carrying a big chunk of vertebra from an animal unknown. I've got no idea what animal that was, but it was a big one.
Yeah.
And this, say for Instagram, really works well because people are strange that way. A gory scene like that will get a lot of attention and people will sit on that image longer.
Yeah.
So for Instagram, that will work really well. On someone's wall, as I mentioned earlier, that might become a little bit depressing unless you're into blood and guts and you love seeing stuff like that a lot.
Yeah.
Then it'll be great for a print.
Yeah.
But I think let's scroll up to the top of this collection and start working or looking at a few individual images that really stood out to me. So starting off with number 2 being the Topi standing on a termite mound. And what draws my attention to this is extreme contrast and visual mass in the scene. Because that background's nice and light and providing that depth in the Mara, your Topi really stands out, and it's a semi-silhouette. Where's my English gone? Semi-silhouetted image. Even though we've still got detail on and color coming off the Topi, you can still see the break between all the legs. That one leg up, swatting off flies is really a cool posture, and it kind of looks like he's a soldier standing at attention. It's really a cool story in the scene. His ears are forward, you can see his horns, and the depth that you've created here is really stunning. But there are a few things that I would like to point out in this image which can be a bit of an eyesore. And if we come down to this left hand corner, you can see there's quite a dark piece of contrast. Coming to the right, there's a piece of contrast down at the bottom here, and then far on to the right, that other mound in the background there. Now, areas like this are going to draw your viewer's eyes away from the subject that you want them to look at, being the Topi in this scene. Now, if I just do a simple crop, and I hit the letter R on the keyboard, this will take us into Lightroom's cropping tool, and we can literally just crop in somewhat. So we just eliminate those edges. We've now lost those pieces of contrast, and your viewer's eyes will now sit on that Topi for a lot longer.
Yeah.
Which is what you want them to do.
Yeah.
You don't want them to have their eyes bouncing around in that scene all the time.
Yeah.
But now in saying this, some people might go to the extreme and think the tree on the left there is also contrast, and yes it is, but it's contrast that's kind of blending into that background. It's not, if that tree was dark and really standing out, then yes, probably get rid of it, or compose differently and frame differently, or reposition the vehicle to line the Topi up and the tree up so that they're a bit closer together.
Yeah.
Then yes, but seeing that this is kind of washed out in the back there, and you just get the slight silhouette of this tree or that shadow of that tree, it's really adding value to the scene, because it's not only aiding the depth in this photograph, but it's also telling you more about the story of the Maasai Mara and the scenes you get to enjoy and be a part of here.
Thank you.
So this is a really, really cool photograph.
Yeah.
Well done. Good stuff.
That's a really good point, because I have a tendency to go in Photoshop or use the filters and tools in Lightroom to lighten and darken distractions rather than doing something as simple as just cropping in a little bit. So I've definitely got to start doing that.
Yeah,
more.
and it'll be a massive time saver.
Yeah.
Instead of jumping between various pieces of software, and yeah, if a simple crop can do it, do it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's move on to a few other images that I saw that really stand out here for me, and I'm going to work through two of the hyena images that we saw, or that you managed to capture, number 5 and number 6, that you managed to capture on one of our mornings out. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight both of them and hit N, which will take us into survey mode. And this will now allow you to see both of them. It's kind of like compare. So if you've got a sequence of say 10 images and you want to look at all of them,
Yeah.
highlight them all, tap in, and you can then see all of them, and from that point cull out the ones you don't want.
Yeah.
That's not going to remove it from Lightroom, it'll just take it out of the survey mode. And now looking at these two scenes, two very different scenes, or looking images from the exact same scene.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I love the crop that you put on this image on the left, seeing that it's 16:9, and by cropping like that, you automatically give that photograph the feeling as if you were shooting at a much wider angle.
Yeah.
And I remember very clearly on this morning, we had positioned the vehicle in an area that was a lot lower than the Ahina.
Yeah.
So we were at eye level, hence the beautiful depth that we got in the scene. And I like the crop you did here on the left. The reason being is because, yes, this animal is walking towards you, but it's looking to its right, so to your left. And therefore, this negative space, leaving that space for that animal to look into, really works well. Because compositionally, what the theory says you should do is, if that animal's walking at the angle it's walking at, that animal should be placed further on the left of the frame to give it the energy and its body language that space to move into. But what's helping you here is that animal's looking over to its right, allowing for this to be working here for you.
Yeah.
And another cool thing with this, and I don't know if your viewers have noticed, is that second Ahina coming in down there, you can barely see it, but you can see its ear, its dark nose, its orange tuft of hair. So again, this is going to allow your viewers just to get a bit more of a storyline in this image. There's Ahina walking, it's beautiful, but hey, look, there's another one coming around the corner.
Yeah.
How many Ahina were there? That'll keep them there, that'll get their imagination going. So a really cool image. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that one because that worked really well. But looking at this scene, and again, speaking about your composition and where to place the animal.
Yeah, this one was...
And it's in the heat of the moment, it's tough.
Yeah.
You know, you get so excited, and I know Ahina's what is your favorite animal.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. Don't worry. But this is salvageable. We can fix this. And even though this guy, because it was kind of looking to it slightly to the right, our left, he should have been more on the right-hand side of the frame.
Yeah.
Now, if you were shooting for prints, per se, this has to be perfect every single time.
Yeah.
Because if I hit information, the I key, okay, your information doesn't pop up. Let's have a look. Oh, no, it does. Okay. And we look at the pixels that run. So 8256 pixels across the top, 5504 pixels down the side.
Yeah.
All right. Now, times that, and you get a number this long.
Yeah.
And that's the amount of pixels you have in the entire frame.
Yeah.
Now, let's see what happens here when we crop. So it's 8,000 and 5,000.
Yeah, it's going to be a mess.
Let's do a crop, and I'm going to hit X in the cropping tool because that'll take it over to portrait orientation. And for Instagram, if a lot of your viewers post on Instagram, a portrait crop which helps a lot is a 4x5 or an 8x10. Now, Instagram is not going to cut the top or the bottom off. That's going to fit perfectly on Instagram. But now, cropping it at this ratio, look at how that's changed your pixels, or the amount of pixels in this scene. Now, if you want to crop this, or print this, but now by cropping it like that, you're losing a lot of real estate. You're losing more canvas because you're cropping a lot, or cropping in a bit, and therefore you can't print as large as you would have wanted to. So if this was a scene you wanted to print, you have to perfect composition, you have to perfect everything.
Yeah.
But this is really going to work well on Instagram because this animal's walking directly towards you. His head's off to the side a bit, but he's walking directly towards you. Usually would work best as a portrait orientation shot, leaving space in front of the animal to move into.
Yeah.
And notice where I've also put this horizon. I haven't put this horizon smack bang in the middle, like that, cropping the scene in half. It'll be good to place it in an area something like that, if I hit enter. And now you have a bit of sky in that horizon in depth, but there's ample space for this hyena now to move into towards you as the photographer.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. That's a really cool photograph. But as I've mentioned, this guy would probably do a better print because you have more real estate and you can print larger, whereas this guy would probably be an Instagram winner.
Yeah.
More impactful right in there. Okay. Let's scroll down. And I know I pointed out number 8, which is this Rhino photograph, which I really love. And the uniqueness of this is that it's a black rhino who usually live in very dense, thick areas. And seeing him walking in a grassland area is really unique, really special. And if anyone knows anything about the two various rhinos you'd find in Africa, your black and your white. White rhinos' heads kind of grow directly up, or black rhinos' heads grow directly out of their body. As you can see here, his head comes straight out, whereas a white rhino head dips all the way down. It's got a very long, slanted head because they grazers. Black rhino are browsers. They eat wooded vegetation. So seeing a black rhino in a scene like this is really, really unique. But now looking at this scene, again, big contrast on him popping out the grass. But our eyes are going there. It's like, geez, what is all of that?
Yeah.
So for a print per se, and next time you find yourself in a scene like this, maybe add a bit more foreground. So there's less distracting and harsh contrast, similar to what these trees are doing at the back here. But let's go into a 16:9 crop. Looking at that, I'm just pulling this down somewhat, just to get rid of all that harsh vegetation in the background. And already there's less movement up into the top of the frame, and your viewer's eyes are going to sit here for a lot longer.
Oh, it's so nice and clean now.
But now as a print, this will be amazing. And again, 16:9 makes it seem wider.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a really unique looking photograph of a black rhino in the Maasai Mara.
Oh, thank you.
I really like this.
Yeah, I like it. He looked, I don't know, there's something about like a shark fin coming out of water that it reminded me of, just like the horn and these humps being seen over the grass.
Yes, and would you mind me quickly doing a really fast edit on this photo?
Oh yeah, go for it. Thank
really
you.
Quick. So let's jump into develop by tapping D. Open up this side. And now this, as I mentioned, is going to be really quick, but I just want to show off what the power of contrast would do, because right now we've got color contrast being light yellows and greens and a dark gray contrast over here. Now what we'll do is just punch whites a bit to make that grass slightly brighter. We can drop dark somewhat, not too much, because that'll darken up the rhino slightly, but you need to be aware that all those dark areas in the background are also going to be quite dark. Shadows we can lift to get more detail coming off that rhino. And then highlights, you'll see if I go extreme here, it's mainly just the grass being affected.
Yeah.
Right? And we can go quite heavy here because it's not really going to affect your rhino. So the brighter we make the surrounding area around the rhino, the more the rhino will pop out.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if I hit backslash, you can already see that by going semi-high key with this, making that surrounding area nice and bright will make this guy pop out. So this is by no means the edit I will do to this image, but it's just for your viewers to see. If I pull that filter around him, and I hit O to see the overlay, you've got a nice strong feather going. And I see your exposure's already up somewhat here, so let's drop that a little. Drop clarity because your eyes are drawn to sharp areas and not these blurred out areas. Putting that on and off, you can already also see how this rhino is now popping out. So a scene like that can be very quickly fixed up and changed, and your viewer's eyes can then be drawn to the greatest point of contrast, which will be your rhino. Really cool and powerful photograph there.
Thank you.
Very, very nice. I love this idea of your texture and that depth in the background, and this is a buffalo photo. I'm
gonna try to get as many of like this back hump as I can of different animals. I've done like horses, and now that I'm here, I'm trying to snap one of as many as I can. Yeah.
Cool, good stuff. Okay, there was another one that really stood out to me here, which was this buffalo scene. I really like this, number 15, and I just love oxpeckers, and they tell such a cool story on the animals, but the thing I picked up here again was just that edge contrast. And I know you probably wanted to keep the eye of the buffalo in there.
Yeah, but
because it'll tell your viewers more of a story as to who this bird is sitting on. But if we just go into a crop, so you've already cropped it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, so what I'd recommend is potentially just keeping more of that horn in.
Okay.
So you don't just have a tip coming, because that's not edge contrast. Like, okay, but where did that horn come from?
Yeah.
Is that another buffalo? Is it the same buffalo? So I would potentially recommend keeping that whole horn in. So if we now say enter, you can see, okay, that horn is coming off this buffalo. Oops, excuse me. this
Okay,
buffalo over here.
cool.
So you can see where it's coming from. It's not like, so is that a different buffalo? That's quite annoying there. But now that you can see where it's coming from,
Yeah.
really does help enhance the look of the scene.
Yeah.
And seeing that it's a curvature over here, if you don't mind me going into this crop again and hitting O for overlay. So we've got this power point very close to this bird, which is great. The closer you can get that power point onto your subject or its eye, the better. But let's keep hitting O to flick through your overlays. Excuse me. And now here you can again see how important features are hitting or very close to these power points. And then just keep tapping O because I want to get to, and then Shift and O will help you change this orientation.
Yeah.
But can you see how there's a flow in this image?
Yeah.
There's energy working here because of the horn of the animal. And it's starting over here, and this mean will now take you around and guide you to your bird.
Yeah.
And what's enhancing this even more is that, yes, it starts here and you go around, but this horn and that curvature is following or very similar to the curvature of this mean.
Yeah.
Which leads your eyes into the birds and eventually out of the scene over here. And it's cool that you've also got, so let's take those overlays off. There we go. It's great that you've got this depth in the background here with some other animals and buffalo back there, not only adding more of a story to the scene, but you've also got beautiful colors in that background. So if we say enlarge, that's a really cool photograph, but it's important to maybe keep the whole story in there, not crop it out somewhat and have your viewers thinking, oh, where did that come from?
Yeah.
If you can get it out entirely, then, and you wanted to get rid of it, then cool, do that. But it's great that you want to keep that eye in so that your viewers can now know who that animal is.
Yeah, thank you. That came from like a lack of attention to detail, because when I was cropping, I wasn't really thinking too much about the edges I was cropping out. I was thinking more about just putting the focus on these birds. Guys here.
Yes.
Yeah, and so it let me just kind of forget everything else. And then, yeah, with the little horn peeking out, that's a rule that I try not to break, and I call it like the all or nothing.
Okay.
So you either know what that is for sure and you can see it, or if you're not sure and it's just a little bit of something, just go ahead and get rid of it entirely.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's a really cool photograph.
Thank you.
Of beautiful animals. I did mention number 16.
Yeah.
Only thing here that'll enhance this photograph is a 16:9 crop as well. So that now, if you look at your rule of thirds grid, the closer you can have an horizon to one of these horizontal lines, the better. So we'll keep it just below, so there's some more room for this guy's legs. The cropping at a 16:9 already there, it looks wider.
Yeah.
And it's more impactful. I just want to get rid of those sides. And yeah, really cool photograph this. This is going to be a powerful either print and or Instagram scene.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I'm going to get it printed.
Brilliant. Good stuff. And now, this sighting was insane.
Yeah.
There's another one. So from 17 to 19 that you've selected. And now that I've selected those three, I'm going to hit N for survey mode, and it's going to take all three onto the screen for me.
Yeah.
And now working through this, because you want to make sure that you're choosing the best wildlife photograph to either edit or to sell or to print or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And all of these stories are very separate. They're telling a very different story, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And I love how with both animals, jackal and serval, walking directly towards you in the image in the middle here, you were shooting portrait orientation.
Yeah.
It really tells a cool story.
And then I done goofed on the last one.
On the one on the right here.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, my shots look very similar to that on the one on the right.
Yeah.
I also cut half the jackal off, and I mean, excitement here was unreal.
Yeah.
I can't even begin. Like I said in the vehicle, I stopped breathing for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was just, it was crazy. It was like a spray and pray, hope for the best kind of situation.
Yeah.
But what will enhance an image on the right over here is, if you look at the scene, a potential 4x5 portrait crop would work best here, because all of this space on the far left, all of that space on the far right, and everything on above the animal here is what I'd consider wasted space.
Yeah.
No, there's no valuable information there for your viewers' eyes to go look at.
Yeah.
But your viewers' eyes will go there.
Yeah, they will.
You know, we all explorers. We want to learn, we want to see, we want to... And the same will go for photographs, is when you look at it, they're going to think, but what else is there? And the more space you give them to wander away from what you want them to look at, the more they will wander away.
Yeah.
Now, if we were at a lower angle, for example, and there was great depth in the scene,
Yeah.
then yeah, having that space behind them wouldn't be too much of a problem. Similar to those Ahina one we were looking at earlier.
Yeah.
But now looking at this, the depth stops 6 meters down the road.
Yeah.
You know, so people are clearly going to know, okay, that's just the road going.
Yeah.
So by working this one and just cropping it differently will enhance it a bit, which we can do, and you'll see the difference there. This, in terms of composition, also maybe just crop a bit of that area above the jackal out. But out of these 3 images, and I'm going to close that one, and I'm going to close that one.
Yeah.
This guy, to me, is the most impactful photograph of the sequence you selected there. And the reason being is because, and again, it's going to require a slight crop.
Yeah.
So that, again, we lose all of that wasted space above him.
Yeah.
But this is an image that is telling, there's so many lines of energy and movement in the scene. And it's not only beneficial that you have 2 small predators in Africa in the same scene, being a serval in the foreground and a side-striped jackal in the back. It's the energy that's moving in the scene is really cool. Because your eye will probably be coming in straight to the serval because it's the sharpest part of the scene. And its energy directs you towards your jackal, and your jackal will direct your eye out of the frame per se.
Yeah.
Okay. But if we quickly jump into a crop and we just drop that down somewhat and say enter, it's going to enhance that. But now we've got this cat's energy because of that implied movement. It's paws up and coming forward. It's looking forward, so you know where it's going to go. It's coming this way. There's energy flowing to the bottom right. And then from the top left, this jackal's body language is going left, and it's looking down here. There's energy going to the top left and bottom left as well.
Yeah.
So there's really good movement in the scene. And if you look back at the next image, yes, you can see there's a jackal there, but it'll take a bit longer to notice.
Yeah.
Because the jackal was a bit closer to the serval in that very moment, there's more detail in it, and there's a clearer story as to what was behind your serval.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, for a serval photograph, this is really insane. I mean, I've been guiding for 9 years now, and I've never had a serval sighting as insane as this was.
Yeah.
So
it was really, really cool.
and just to brag to your viewers a bit, then that happened.
Yeah.
We saw the serval hunting, and it caught whatever that rodent is.
Yeah, some
So
little
I'm not
rat.
too clued up on my rodent species, but that was insane.
Yeah.
That was a really cool moment. Very well done. This lion shot's beautiful, number 21. And I love how you went portrait orientation on it. Really works. And the color and the depth in here also really is great. You can have a quick look at this in just a crop. And one thing I do want to point out in this image is that it seems as if she's at a bit of an angle. Just be very still, yeah?
Yeah.
She's slightly offish there.
Yeah.
And you can see the level of her eyes. So that's just one thing we need to bear in mind, because it's difficult if you're not getting an horizon in the scene. And in the Mara it's bloody difficult because the horizons are going everywhere. You've got the hills and the slopes. So it can be quite tough to line it up. But if you're going in as tight as you were here, and I remember this scene, this is the girl who walked literally right under you.
Yeah.
That was insane. But it's important because you were at a funny angle photographing.
Yeah.
You can be skewed very easily.
Even when I'm not at a funny angle,
You're
I'm
skewed.
really bad with portraits. I don't know. There's just
Something about it.
I'm just real wobbly.
Now, one thing I want to mention, because it does look like she's a bit slanted, is let's try and straighten up these eyes, because her head was pretty dead straight. Now, in the crop, if you tap and hold shift, that is not what I wanted to do. So Command Z. Let me just go into get your angle tool. And if I draw from one pupil to the next, boom, that's going to straighten it up. I'm also going to get rid of some of that space above her and pull it down to leave a little bit more space for that paw to land. You say enter, you can already see she's a lot straighter. She's not at a slight angle. So one big thing to bear in mind, if you are going to be shooting wildlife, make sure that horizons and or animals are straight, because if your viewer is going to, or if I'm going to scroll through your Instagram and look at an image like this the whole time, I'm going to not give you that double tap.
Yeah.
Just because it's a bit of a, at an angle.
Yeah, it's just not as good as it could be.
Exactly. Well, I think we've worked through quite a few images here, and I hope that this has been beneficial to you and your viewers. Do you have one or two more questions you might have for me, or?
I don't. Thank you so much.
All right, brilliant.
You're a great guide, and that was extremely helpful for me. So thank you so much.
You're most welcome. And if you ever do have any other questions, feel free to get in touch. And when I have a bit of space and time on my hands, if you want to link up a Zoom call and we can do something like this again in the future, or if your viewers have any questions, I will happily assist as and when I can.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
And with that pretty much wraps up my review with Michael. I really think the best way to learn wildlife photography is by constantly seeing examples. And if you'd like to have your work looked over as an example on this channel, then feel free to drop a link to your work in the link in the description. That's pretty much it for this episode. I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, now let me introduce you to my cats. This is Pan, and we also call him PP or Pan. This is him. He likes to go to Starbucks with me and likes to go on hikes. He's very cute. And this is his brother Atlas, who is also very cute, and he doesn't go on hikes yet, but he does go to Starbucks and he's learning to do car rides. Excuse you, sir.